I don't know if you'd noticed this, but nothing has been fine.
I'll just apologize in advance to those who think Evil Dead is an amazing remake, but I can't say I do. Released in 2013, and the first movie not to be directed by Sam Raimi, though he did stay on as a producer, Evil Dead is not so much bad, I just don't know what they were going for. Directed this time by Federico Matos, I hope, who's also a somewhat unknown, similar to Sam Raimi with the Evil Dead. This remake, if you want to call it that, because some don't, is actually vastly different, heavily ramps up the blood and gore, and attempts to have a more cohesive premise, aside from teenagers head to a remote cabin and fuck with things they shouldn't fuck with. In this version, it's so one of our leads can overcome heroin addiction. Why they went in the original, I still don't know. And while that does all sound promising, that's essentially where the improvements end.
Whoa, right there, Spinach Chin.
You see, being more of a retelling, as I would call this, the main thing is how it stands on its own. I'm not too concerned about similarities to the original in this case, but that, despite being a cheaply made B-movie, still seemed to understand what it was. This, on the other hand, is a weird combination of what you'd expect to see in an Evil Dead movie, and something a lot more traditional. Like I said, I'm okay with it not being quite as ridiculous. It makes up for that with blood, gore, and outright disturbing scenes, but it's the way it all comes together that makes me think they had something different in mind, but still had to make an Evil Dead movie. Unfortunately, before we get to that, we have about 20 minutes of complete nonsense. That's not counting our little intro section here, that does remind us it's an Evil Dead movie.
Who are you?
And that's a good thing, because it won't happen again for a long time. As for this scene, there's not a whole lot to it. Father must burn daughter because possession, obviously. And the exposition is quite weak.
Who are these people?
Look, they're good people.
And that's all they are. That's all the intel we get. Good people. Speaking of weak exposition, it's a good thing we have this scene, because like I said, there's a bit of a slog to get through. This issue is made apparent right away as our main cast of dumb teenagers literally address themselves right off the bat.
Hey, Olivia. This is my girl, Natalie.
And that's our irresistibly charming Eric.
Hey, Mia.
It does mean I don't have to explain who they are, which is a good thing because I don't want to, but I wouldn't exactly call this fluent. It feels more like they were afraid you wouldn't know who was who. Maybe I'm nitpicking a bit too much, but you'll soon understand why. The only one not mentioned is David, played by Shiloh Fernandez. Olivia, played by Jessica Lucas, does not get along with Natalie, played by Elizabeth Blackmore, because reasons that make no sense.
The doctor.
Actually, she's...
I'm a registered nurse.
Accidental compliment? How dare she? We have our fucking stupid, supposedly intelligent Eric, played by Taylor Pucci. Everything bad in this movie will be his doing. It will have no reasoning. It will make no sense. Him and David have some kind of issue, but it means nothing. And finally, Mia, David's heroin-addicted sister, played by Jane Levy. They have problems too, because he wasn't there when their mom died, and the mom supposedly liked him better. But I have multiple issues with this scene. First off, this weird-ass line.
I know I look like roadkill.
Oh, you look beautiful.
Okay, when I said the movie was disturbing, I didn't mean incest. The first movie's necklace is there because, reference, they don't even know what side of the body the heart is on, and the heroin, the thing we addressed as bad, is dumped into the local water supply. Harmless, surely. And with that, we can get to the badly written exposition. That being the aforementioned dead mother, and how he wasn't there.
Do you remember that lullaby Mom used to sing us?
I don't think you need sad memories in your head right now.
Mom's not a sad one. Mom sometimes thought I was you.
By the time Mom got bad, I had just gotten the job at the garage in Chicago.
Okay, so I understand it wouldn't be easy to show all of this, but given that these two won't spend that much screen time together in the movie, you'll see what I mean, there's just too much of it. It doesn't work. Keep in mind, this is still a dumb horror movie. Decisions will be questionable beyond belief, so all this boring, uninteresting, quote-unquote development is simply not needed. It slows down the movie's pace and doesn't deliver any kind of payoff aside from David, eventually being there. By that I mean I'll have to do something dickish first, as through even more exposition, we learn that they tried this whole thing before, it went badly, Mia almost OD'd, and it will likely happen again unless David refuses to help her if she wants to leave. Obviously he'll agree, so he can break his incorrect heart promise, but before that we establish things are not right. There's an awful smell coming from the basement, and upon going down there, finding a lot of dead shit and the scene from the intro, glad they made that inherently obvious, they decide not to leave, instead of collecting a shotgun and a bob-wired book, because that should guarantee their safety. Again, don't want to complain about decisions in a horror movie, but what happens next may be the dumbest and utterly pointless decision in any horror movie. Obviously, they found the Book of the Dead, but unlike the original, this version has writing in English telling him to put it the fuck down. Why he proceeds to decipher it, I don't know. There's no motivation whatsoever. What he expected is a mystery to me, but he gets it done. This time it takes the form of a creepy girl, and while Mia is the only one to notice, she doesn't actually say anything about it, but she does demand to leave, seemingly for withdrawal reasons, but as we know, they agreed not to do that. But she can still drive and is left unattended, so that was pointless. As we know, Evil Dead movie means no escape, so she crashes, probably could have avoided that lake, but whatever. And the time has come to redo the infamous tree rape scene. But this time it's an eel rape scene. Okay, it's scarier, I guess. And upon returning, Olivia, the doctor, thinks everything is just fine and dandy. Eric, despite the events depicted in the book, says nothing. And David is told by Mia they have to get the fuck out, and...
You know it's all in your head. Feel better tomorrow, okay?
Yeah. This is too dumb for a horror movie. Speaking of dumb, they had a dog with them that didn't bear mentioning, but now it's dead, and David automatically thinks Mia did it. However, she's currently burning herself to death in the shower, so that's unlikely, meaning he finally decides to get the hell out, but as you know...
This can't be happening.
Hey, you can hit the like button down below and subscribe in the same key area. Or visit the gaming channel for stuff like this, but with games. So it's back to the house, Eric still saying nothing about the book.
Everything's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be fine.
He does say that, but that's it. And Mia, now fully possessed with the shotgun, mildly injures David, vomits on Olivia, and is locked in the cellar. I will give the movie credit on one thing: the effects are mostly practical. Which is odd, given the director had a history with CGI, but he wanted to use practical effects as a tribute to Sam Raimi. It's obviously a good thing, as it does lead to some memorable scenes. If not for that, this might be completely skippable. However, Olivia is now possessed too, and what could have been a shocking scene is completely ruined. Yes, show us the outcome, that's the way to do it. Eric is the first to see it, leading into a pretty brutal fight, involving a syringe and whatnot. But even though it is well done, him beating her to death with a piece of porcelain is not an established way of stopping it. Because it does stop it, at least in her case, so I guess fuck established rules. Luckily, duct tape will get him healed up, and he finally decides to tell David about the book, but apparently Natalie isn't important. She goes to see Mia because she's retarded. A bit of torture porn ensues, but she's fine.
Your little sister's being raped in hell!
We get it. You're dark, okay? As you could guess, this was originally going to be an MC-17 rating until cuts were made to change that, and the stupidity of this movie continues through lines like this.
I mean, maybe they had some disease. I mean, some virus that it spread to Mia, and then she passed it to Olivia when she puked all over her face.
I have no words for that. Then, as a homage to Evil Dead 2, Natalie's hand is very much infected, and I will admit it is kind of comedic that opposed to a chainsaw, she uses a carving knife to remove it. I'm sure to some that's sexist, but it gets the job done. Don't know why the power goes out, but in this movie, opposed to just dismemberment, the possession can also be stopped by being cleansed by fire or buried. And also blunt head trauma, but that was that scene. He says no to this.
I don't know why.
But that's not important right now, as Natalie is possessed, apparently cut her arm off for no reason, but she has a nail gun, and it's another enjoyable scene. Like I said, good effects do go a long way, and when this movie gives us something that isn't idiotic, it's honestly okay. Eric seems to get the worst of it though, being shot repeatedly, but in the end her arm is blown off, returning her to normal again, and she dies. Seemingly unaware of what just happened, questioning why David shot her. Stupid as hell, till the end. He finally decides to burn the place, but he can't do it. Instead, he has a plan, figured out as we go. He goes to fetch Mia, which goes badly, but Eric saves him, causing him to die on the spot. Which reminds me, they weren't getting along or something. But that's okay, he puts a red dress on her, because buries her alive, digs her back up, apparently built a defibrillator.
That doesn't make any sense!
And it works. For real. It works. She's no longer possessed. Yeah, the car battery did run out, like after 2 uses, but fuck that logic. The burns have magically healed too, so all is well.
I'm gonna get the car keys.
You know, for like a minute. I don't think it really bears explaining. Eric's possessed, David gets mortally wounded, and they blow up. So So now we have another odd decision, the climax, arguably the best part of the movie, the only real Evil Dead-like scene, focuses on a character we barely know. Mia has spent most of the movie being possessed, locked in the cellar, so honestly, I don't care that much. It's too bad because the climax is damn good. Well, that gives that some purpose. I'm a bit confused though, it was supposed to require 5 souls. I'm not completely sure how that adds up. But fuck it, it's an Evil Dead movie now. It's got chainsaws, a shit ton of stage blood, and a whole lot of tense scenes. Like I keep saying, when this movie wants to be good, it can be real good, and that's why I hold with it not being a complete waste. However, it's kind of odd she gets her left hand fucked up. It was Ash's right hand, but she rips it off, no problem, and the evil is extinguished once and for all. Unfortunately, this line is kind of off.
Face on this motherfucker!
Not enough screen time for that to work, but it's over now, and the movie comes to a close.
Groovy.
Aside from Bruce Campbell's cameo, which is kind of odd given he wasn't really into this movie being made, until realizing the character of Ash wouldn't be remade. As for the movie itself, it's kind of a mess. Opposed to The Well that we covered last week, that was actually a smart horror movie, this, despite not being low budget, is so dumb it's problematic. It really is a scene-for-scene basis. When shit actually goes down, especially Evil Dead shit, it is a satisfying movie, and it doesn't feel like I wasted my time. Unfortunately, the problems go beyond dumb decisions. The exposition toward the beginning is just not fun to get through, and since the siblings don't spend that much time on screen together, it just doesn't make sense. On top of that, switching out leads toward the end is not a good idea. It's kind of like LA Noire, why do that? And apparently some people, not to name who, actually think Mia and Ash could compete to see who's the better lead. I don't know where that logic comes from. Even if you only count the first Evil Dead movie, at least he's the only main character. But in any case, that's a big problem. There are things I like about it, what's good is real good, the disturbing stuff is definitely done right, and overall, it is fun to watch. That being said, the follow-up Evil Dead Rise is still better, and in my opinion, so is Army of Darkness. Some people hate this movie, I wouldn't say that, but if one has to be skipped, this is the one. I'm the analyst, and remember kids, if you can speak English, obey the fucking warning. So, you've made it to the end. That's an impressive feat indeed. Since you managed that, I guess check out the gaming channel, in which I cover a variety of gaming topics, like analysis videos, such as this one. If you're into that, then press the link in the description. It's that simple.